Act 5 has Hargoroth. I love this aesthetic. The cold viciousness is a great place to stage a world-ending event. From Diablo, a Hellcast. I've never seen this before, and when I pulled it, I only saw that I couldn't use it. But when editing this video, I think this could have been a contender for my edge, especially the explosive bolts. Second from Diablo, Milibrega's Diadem. This is usually the first serious set that I use for my Paladin, but since I'm an Amazon and solo self-found, it's a shame. After some disappointing candy, it's time for the Bloody Foothills. In this section, we just run to the end. There's nothing story-worthy here, but I do take some time to save some barbarians.
Look at my horse is up.
And some I don't.
Don't leave me!
Michael! Don't leave me here!
Ultra flanking around Shenk the Overseer gives you the advantage. Trust me, I do this all the time. Thank God for Immolation Arrow's AoE. And he goes down with nothing to show for it. Ah, the frigid highlands, where the snow is as endless as my quest for candy and where I go to rectify Eldritch the Rectifier. Let's talk about this dynamic duo, Eldritch and Shenk the Overseer. Two mini-bosses conveniently parked near portals? Yes please, because walking is for people who haven't clicked on 10,000 corpses looking for rare loot. So here's the game plan. Load in, farm Shenk and Eldritch like they owe me rent, teleport out, rinse and repeat. Anyways, after a few runs later, I'm one step closer to maxing out my XP bar and one step further from my social obligations. It is the Diablo way after all. Now, I don't normally show yellows here because piss-flavored candy is not my style, but I wanted to show off this skull chant. I love the monsters flee on hit and that added +2 to skeletons. I wouldn't mind breaking some kneecaps with this. The Frigid Highlands also contains the Free the Barbarians quest. But let's be honest, I can break down doors with my arrows. They can't break down doors with their fists. Society should be thanking me that I'm not granting them free passage to become burdens on their welfare system. Besides, it's 5 in the morning and my random handful of pills are starting to wear off. We hug the left side and barely bother the locals, which is going to be a common theme throughout this act. Right into Ariat Plateau, another barren wasteland. Now we get to talk about how much I love this act while we endlessly hug the right side this time. I already mentioned that I love the aesthetic and lore building from a culture we assumed didn't have any of that, but I also enjoy the quests here. It may not seem like it since I'm rushing to boil Baal's delicious looking crab legs. That door was an insult to my mother. But where else can you save people from a siege? Save people from jail. Save people from kidnapping. And then not save the mighty spirit of the mountains? The monsters are also just varied enough to make Pokemon jealous, and some of them are quite capable of extracting your ovaries and wearing them as earrings. Overall, I feel the love and dedication that was put into making this expansion. I'm so happy to experience this game in my lifetime. Now, let's continue by running past all of it. Into the Crystalline Passage. Getting ambushed by steel scarabs and assailants in Act 5 will never not be weird. Something about the excessive static shocks and the threat of hyperviolence from Slenderman just doesn't sit right.
Ooh, piece of candy.
And it's an Arctic binding. This is a cool early game belt with large defense and massive 40% cold resist. My belt's better though. Into the Glacial Trail. This is where we can start the quest to save Anya from the cold embrace of an incel. This kicks off a typical 3 AM home invasion where I devolve into primate bloodlust, throw shit everywhere, corner an incel into the basement, and beat him to death with his own limbs, as they deserve. But I don't do any of that. We just breeze on by and leave Anya to her fate. 1 shot, 2 kills. Oh, what could this cursed chest give me? I've been such a good Amazon for Murder Miss. I would love a new playmate. Or perhaps some new stompers for reasons? Fine, I'll just take some bling instead. It's a Cthulhu's Sigil. I know I made it sound like Cthan's set is worth its weight in shit, but this amulet is better than my other one. I also have like 16 Cthan's Visages. Adding them together finally makes me drop my Infernal Cranium for the additional fire damage and the 16% mana regen. One last shopping spree. A marvelous gem, you say? Fucking liars. Ooh, with a look like that, I'll let them hunt my flesh any day. Moving on to the frozen tundra, Indiana shows its face one more time. It was right then that I was assaulted by the flame of inspiration. My numbers were slowly making it feel like killing monsters had me stuck in traffic. Traffic makes me want to take the Kurt Cobain challenge and take several high beam flashing idiots with me. So instead, to pump up those numbers, it's time for a respec. I bring my strength and dex up to just barely use my equipment. Most of my damage is magic based. I don't need strength to do damage or dex to hit things. Horseshoes, immolation arrows, and all that. Then I dunk everything else into vitality, because energy is for dumbasses. And if you can't keep up with the likes of Hercules, what are you even doing with your life? I then redo my skill points. I know I wanted to stay with my best friend Immolation Arrow because the screams of my burning enemies allows me to sleep at night, but I wanted higher numbers. I couldn't pass up a 30% crit either, though on second thought, crit doesn't affect fire damage. Then I wasted a point in Penetrate because I don't know how to read, and it doesn't allow me to make deeper holes to accommodate my massive Amazon forearm. I also wanted to get 30% in Dodge, Avoid, and Evade because I wanted to roleplay the healthcare industry. Lastly, I dumped everything into Exploding Arrow for Immolation Arrow maxing. Overall, I used a finite resource to slightly bump up my numbers. This is also the Diablo way. Meanwhile, in the frozen tundra, this is the point where I get to tell you my feelings about the Amazon. We aren't going to miss much while I run through the Ariat Plateau. When I first started Amazon, I was worried like a piss baby. I don't like the mana mechanics in this game. It's why I always play an Aura Paladin. Dealing with potions being the only reliable way to fill up my blue bubble gives me major anxiety. But then we add ammo into the works? What do you mean my weapon only has a set amount of hits? So now I have to worry about ammo and mana? I don't think this is fun. I could have picked up the Spirazon instead. It would have been much easier, and I could have been making dick jokes this entire time. But I knew the quintessential Amazon was a Boazon. This run was about challenging those anxieties, and really, what was the problem? Granted, the mod that I used to randomize monsters also gave me arrow stacks of 500, so I'm sure the vanilla Amazon would have made me waste more inventory space and make me come back to town at least 100 more times. And the mana wasn't really an issue where it mattered. Early game I was chugging down mana pots like my alcoholic father drowning out the bills. But mid to late game, it evens out, and I only ran out after some major fighting, which I would usually refill my mana pots from dropped ones anyways. Damage? Shit was aight. I've given way more damage in other playthroughs. But with the added benefit of not having to deal with hit chances, being about 10 miles away to snipe sexy monsters, and my meat shield Emilio, it more than made up for it. In conclusion, play Amazon. It's nice and chill. I may not have greatly min-maxed, and I'm sure other people would have objections in how I played her, but I care about their opinions as much as I care about the demon skeet on my boots. Anyway, onto the Ancients' way. I actually don't understand why we're killing the Ancients. I've done it a million times, but the reason always eludes me. Is it a rite of passage? Won't let us pass unless we show the righteousness of our cause by beating 3 homeless people to death? Then how did Baal pass by? Did the Ancients see what he did in the intro of Act 5 and just wave him past? Were they subsequently turned into mashed potatoes, ancient flavored, by Baal? I don't know. Trusting something like the Worldstone to drug-addled vagrants just doesn't seem like a good form of governance. Anyways, on to the ancients. My strategy here was simple. Treat them like bananas. You pull them apart separately and slowly peel and slide them down my throat. That plan was quickly train wrecked by Emilio being there to tank them all and subsequently turning into human jello. A quick reposition and then I started blasting. I misjudged my own resilience. I was tanking all three of them with nary a worry. Korlic, with his polearm that makes me feel a certain kind of way, went down without much of a fight. Quick repositioning. Talic, the ballroom dancer, tapped his last beat soon afterwards. Lastly, Madawc, the only one with sense to be ranged, threw his last stake at me. Well, now I know how Baal got through. Into the Worldstone Keep. At this point, despite my respect, my damage was lackluster. How can I finish my cosplay of War in the Red with her unending quest to satisfy Baal if my damage was more like a warm summer breeze? I could grind up some levels. I could get better gear. I could even give up and delete my save. Or, and hear me out, or I could just run through everything. I know, controversial. But it's 5 a.m., I'm hallucinating Steve Buscemi in my hallways, and I have an intense desire to lick hot steaming Baal juices. Ow, fuck! Ugh. Look how much it takes for me to kill a skin bird. Damn, Diablo 2, I really didn't need an accurate description of my depression this late at night. Fuck you, Baal, you can't get me every time. Here's the waypoint in case I need to do Baal runs later. Thank God I pressed Alt right there. I would have missed that Ort rune. One left turn later, and I find my exit to level 3. Before long, the light at the end of the tunnel. The Worldstone Chamber. Of course, all of my best friends are here, the Oblivion Knights, to surprise me at the end. But instead of presents, it's bone spirits, fire, and a lengthy hospital bill. Honestly, Diablo 2 wouldn't be what it is without going out with a firm handshake and a hearty fuck you. Our first of Baal's cucks is Colenzo the Annihilator. Standard shaman, but with fire immunity. Didn't he learn from the Grand Vizier of
Chaos
that I'm not a one-trick pony? I'm at least a 3-trick pony. Next up is Akmel the Cursed. He ran into the problem of bringing a bunch of highly flammable mummies to a cookout. And baby, I'm the fucking Burger King. Don't get me wrong, I love playing the Necromancer. I can see the value of having a few slaves around to take a beating. But when your enemy has arrows that would make Timothy McVeigh jealous, you're gonna have a bad time. Third down on our naughty list is Bartok the Bloody and his harem of all your drunk uncles. They're ready to burst into your bedroom and be in your space whether you like to or not. Worse yet, they all love lying these tentacles everywhere. It's distracting because it makes me feel some type of way. This explains why this happened. I swear I wasn't staring at the buffet of meat appendages in front of me. It's time for another walk of shame. Makes you think, huh? It also fills me with determination not to be manhandled by large, girthy, prehensile meat spears. Wait, no. Get your mind out of the gutter. We got this. Have strength. God gives his toughest battles to his toughest warriors. My toughest battle just happens to be with stupid, sexy tentacles. Here we are, back in the saddle, sending the last few messages of death and ruination to Bartok the Bloody and his stupid, sexy uncles. Next up is Ventar the Unholy and the entire high school wrestling team that used to bully me. Flashbacks of Act 4 come flittering into my mind. I immediately panic as the chances of being fucked to death rises with every step of their cloven hoof. They got Emilio, am I next? I snap back to reality with hunky blood on my hands and the next wave of demons coming up. Safety first. Last is Lester the Tormentor and his unholy posse. What's the first thing they do? Punch me square in the face, hard enough to send me hurling back to the glory days as the heavyweight champion of Sanctuary. Excuse me, I'm the one that's supposed to be using knockback here. Instead, they're tossing me around like a sack of used toenails, and I can't even counter without seeing stars. So what do? Naturally, in my boundless tactical genius, I employ the time-honored Diablo 2 survival strategy. Run back to town and restock. Safety first. They hit hard, and unless you have a trick up your sleeves, you're going to be their dinner in more ways than one. Luckily, my trick is hyper-violence. It always has been. My second trick is running around and shooting them from a distance. My third trick? Well, let's just hope it doesn't come to that.
Are ya ready, kids?
Aye, aye, Captain!
Safety first.
The Worldstone.
At first I tried to take the pussy Amazon way and just shoot him from off screen. Then I realized how dumb I was and I needed to boob up. I ran to a better position to take on Baal more directly. Emilio dies within the first 10 seconds of the fight. We didn't need him anyways. Baal summons his twin brother, and that's when I know some real kinky shit's about to go down. I'm taking Baal from the front, Baal's twin is taking me from the rear. I'm getting hit with waves of white stuff from the front and the back. I seem to be outraging his cone attack and not even paying attention to what's going on around me. I'm running out of energy and trying to keep hydrated. These two just don't quit. The thrill of battle. After one last shot of white stuff and a loud groan from Baal, he slumps into an exhaustive death. And my reward is 2 pieces of candy and 2,600 gold. I feel dirty. Here's one last look at my stats. 57 strength, 57 dex, 117 vit, 22 energy. And here are all my bonus stats. Here's one last look at my gear. Shout out to my edge bow that carried me to the end. Another shout out to Gathan's 2-set bonus, and the hawkmail that I forgot to show you guys when I changed my stealth out in Act 3. Bonus points for anybody who noticed that. And of course, my boy Tyrael calls the Uber out. Finally, this was super fun. I love Diablo 2 and I'm looking forward to doing more. I'll continue to Nightmare if there's interest. Thank you for watching the Saga of